my name is Dige. I have a new single out. It's called I Will Be the Sun for You. And I thought in celebration of the new single, I could share some stories behind the making of the video. Music videos for me have always been as important as the music. And I also just love videos. I love watching other people's videos and hearing the stories behind the music videos. With my previous single, It's You I'm Thinking Of, the sound started to change from my previous tracks. My older songs were more electronic, synth pop, and with It's You I'm Thinking Of, it started to go more in an acoustic direction with guitars and live drums. And I really wanted the video to also incorporate some new elements that I hadn't done before. And one really simple thing was just playing my instruments in the video, because in all my previous videos I never showed myself playing any instruments. With this new video, I Will Be the Sun for You, I thought, well, why don't I also include a dance choreography? I've never done that and I've always wanted to. How the concept came to be was I was in Finland during the Christmas holidays and I was watching a lot of these 1970s fairy tale movies, and it just brought such a great feeling inside me because it reminded me of when I was a kid and making these movies with my sister and our friends and neighborhood kids. Oftentimes we would make these fairy tale movies, and first we started off with pictures, like we would act out the important parts in the story in a photo. And then later on, my grandmother had got a camera and she let us use the camera, and we started to take these stories we had in pictures, and they were basically like a storyboard, so we started to create them into the films. And it was just like such a fun thing to do. We would make all the costumes and it was such a team effort. It was something that only we would enjoy watching ourselves at the end. When I watched these old fairy tale movies, it just reminded me of that time and how I really began making films. And another thing I really like about these old fairy tale movies is that they don't look so glossy like you see in these like Disney movies. I'm sure they were high production for their time, but when you watch it today, you think, oh, okay, I could do that. And that's always what's inspiring, is when you see something and you think, oh, I can do that. So the inspiration for this music video was kind of based on that fairy tale folklore aesthetic. So just to introduce the characters of the film, there's the main character, myself, Sally. There are the dancers, who are kind of like the simple people on earth who celebrate life and joy through the act of dance. There's the angel musicians. They're kind of like the fanfare to the sun goddess, like they celebrate her presence and her importance. Then there is the sun goddess, who represents the light, but not just like a sun person in the sky, but more like she is the strength within us, like we are the sun. So it all kind of comes back to the main character, and she is the sun, and all the characters are connected. When I see this shot, my eyes immediately go to the leaf by my feet. For this shot, I had set it up, and sometimes I will do this because if I don't have someone that's like a camera person beside me, then I will try to set up the shots myself, because I am a camera person, I know what I want. And in this case, I had my boyfriend, he would stand in for me, and we're like the same height, so he would mime the balalaika, and I could get the shot exactly how I want it. And I would say, okay, yeah, put the leaf there. So then I know when I jump in front of the camera, I'll know where I'm gonna go. So that's, for me, every time I see the shot, I just always look at that leaf. And actually, yeah, in this shot, I am playing the balalaika, like the song actually has balalaika. It's not just like a gimmick, even though I'm playing the balalaika basically like a rhythm guitar. So for these studio shots, I wanted to have some kind of design on my face. And I was doing like a bunch of sketch designs, and I liked this one the most, and I posted on my Patreon account my various sketches, and someone had asked, what did it mean? And for me, the design was like, there's the figure who's, you know, the hands up to the sky. There's the sun, who was around the face, but also the lines around the face, I saw it as like the halo of the angels. And then of course you have the moon at the bottom, you need the sun and moon. So for me, like the symbol represented all the characters in the film. So for the dance scenes, those were really my favorite part in the music video. always make me so happy seeing the dancers and the choreograph come together. So we would rehearse in the park, like in the mornings. And one day we had a book studio for a few hours. During the rehearsals, I would have someone film it. And that really helped a lot too, because I could watch the footage later and leave notes for the girls, and also of course share them in the video. And then we can see how we could kind of like tighten up certain moves. It was such a nice experience, like just getting together with friends in the morning, dancing. So it turned out to be just a perfect accident that the dancers became the dream team. We had Camille, who had a vintage clothing business. So she was able to provide actually a lot of the costumes in the music video. And then we had Frances, and she is a seamstress, so she would sew up and adjust a lot of the costumes to fit for the girls. And then we had Rika, who is a dancer, and we had Emmy, who had done Finnish folk dance. So it just by coincidence and accident, like it just was the perfect dream team. For the costumes, we all just brought whatever kind of folky costume outfit we had, and together we assembled pieces. And I kind of like that they're not like a total strict uniform. I kind of like that they're all individual, which is like gives them their own personality. Actually, it's really funny with that black dirndl that Emmy is wearing. I had found that in a garbage bin like years ago. That's why I always check the garbage bins. Like it's good to check what's in there. And I found that black dirndl, and I was like, okay, I should come back in the evening and get it, because sometimes the neighbors are a little weird when you're going through the garbage. So in the dance routine, there's a part where the girls all run up and then all put their hands down together. Of course, when we were trying it, it's like you're not gonna get it perfect, right? So I was like, okay guys, let me just get the shot perfect, and then we're just gonna like reverse it in the post. I really like this shot. It kind of reminds me of like these moments, like, Power Rangers or these action heroes, or like a band, before they go on stage, like, hey! When we were filming the dance scenes, I had myself and Isa, who were behind the cameras, and we set up in different spots, which made sense because the girls were dancing constantly in the sun. It was kind of exhausting for them. And one of the shots I really wanted, which I really like here, is I wanted a shot that like moved with the dancers, so it really made you feel like you are one of the dancers dancing with them. And I really love this shot. When it comes in, I really feel like I am there with them dancing. From doing the rehearsals with the girls, it was so much fun, and I kind of regretted that I didn't include myself in the dance choreography. So I later thought maybe I can include a small dance piece for me in the video. I had decided to take some inspiration from these folk dance videos I was finding on YouTube. The folk dance that I took inspiration from were these German folk dances, and because the girls were doing the female roles in the dance, I thought I could take inspiration from the male role in this folk dance. I would practice at home in my apartment. It was very difficult because it's really small, and I had like some objects, so I was always hitting the light bulb above me, and it was always swinging around. For the stick, I had found that by the garbage bin downstairs, because I also wanted to hold something, and I thought like a branch would be nice. And I was just like, okay, I need to find some branch. And I was just taking the garbage out, and there they were, the 2 branches, and they were perfect. So for the angel musicians, I imagine them like this band. They're the band that's emphasizing the importance of the sun goddess. When you look at old paintings, you often see like these angel musician band playing around important figures, and that was part of the inspiration. Another inspiration for the angel musician band was just from 90s pop groups. Oftentimes in these pop groups, they'll all have like a similar outfit, but they're slightly different because it gives you, the viewer, a chance to get to know the different personalities of the band or the group. So I thought of the angel musicians in a similar way, that they're like a group, but they all have like a slightly different outfit. So the wings took quite a long time to construct. I didn't want to have these like costume shop wings. I really wanted the wings to have more of a design, structural look to them. So we had made them out of cardboard, and yeah, it took a while. And for my set of wings, there's like dried pumpkin seeds painted gold, but that was a lot of work, so I decided we're just gonna have one pair like that. I think it turned out really well, especially when I see the shot with Martha and you see the outlines and the shape of it. I feel it was worth it. For this shot, like the one thing that kind of bothers me is that there's those two strings on the mandolin that are too close to each other. The reason is because I had just ordered this mandolin online. It was like a cheap, really nice looking mandolin, and I thought it would be nice for this video, but the bridge wasn't quite working and the string kept falling off. And I was like, okay, let's just try it. But I mean, of course it sounds terrible if you play a mandolin or any guitar with strings that are close to each other. And I was thinking later, like, oh, you know, like, I don't know, it doesn't look right. You know, if you're a guitar player or a mandolin player, you know it's gonna sound terrible if you actually played it like that. So we had reshot the scene and put a proper bridge on the mandolin, but if you can believe it, that one shot is blurry and totally unusable. So had to be the one with the two strings too close. So now we are revealing the sun goddess. I think with a music video with a lot of characters, it's really important to still treat it like a film, even though a music video moves much faster pace. So what I would do is, when I was editing, is I would write out each section of the music video and put in each part, like the intro, the verse, the chorus, where every character will be, so that the audience gets time to get to know the characters, gets to digest them, and also leaves the element of surprise for when the sun goddess comes. And that's kind of like where we've been building up towards. When she is revealed, to me, that's the big moment that we get to finally see her. The setting of this scene is just so perfect to me, and it wasn't something that we had planned. We were always shooting at this one field, and for this day of shooting, all we know is that we needed a tree because we were going to shoot the sun goddess. And the original idea was to have this gold canvas that was going to be stapled or nailed to the tree. So we're just thinking, okay, we just need a tree. And we're walking down the path and we're like, oh, how about that one? Which happened to be the tree in the video. We didn't actually use the canvas as a backdrop. We used it in the end as like a skirt. But the tree is just so perfect. And I always think about if we had walked in a different path, like it would have been a different tree, a different mood. And I just love, again, when these things happen that are just so natural and they're just so perfect in the end. When doing these video shoots, I'm always so amazed at how the time just flies. When we were doing this sun goddess scene, I was standing on a ladder and I couldn't really move because I had this big canvas skirt around me. And I think it was Sanne who was saying, oh, you've been standing up there for 5 hours and I'm not really moving the entire time. And I always just compare everything to school, like how in school I would have to be there for 6 hours and it just felt like the time went by so slowly, even though you have recess and other activities. But when you're shooting and you're just standing on a ladder, not moving, and 5 hours is gone and you don't even notice. So when we were doing the smoke scene for the sun goddess, we were a little afraid because we were gonna have all the smoke and, you know, God bless the locals around. Maybe it would frighten some people if they saw all the smoke coming from the field. So we had planned that when there was no one around, we were gonna go. And we also had planned it so that we were gonna do the smoke scenes last and then just get out of there. So once the coast was clear, we started up all the smoke, and there's this one shot and you can just see how much it burns my eyes the way I'm just like blinking like this, just burning. And you couldn't even really blink because there was glue on my eyelids for the glitter, and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, this burns. But after we finished a shot, we just like packed everything up and we got out of there. My boyfriend, he added the visual effects in the music video. He had never done visual effects before, like he'd never done editing either, any of that. And I was just saying to him, hey, can you do the visual effects? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, great. Yeah, I just remember seeing him watching tutorials on YouTube and editing at the same time. And so for the ending of the video, it kind of, you see the character from where she started in the beginning, where she's in the woods and she's making the decision about stepping forward. And I like that it's like she went on this journey, or that you got to see everything that happened, and now she's back where she started at the tree, and that's where she decides to take a chance and step forward. So when I look back at the music video and I think about what is my favorite part in all of this, and for sure I would say it's just the community aspect of making these films. It's going on this journey with other friends and people who are just as excited as you are to create something magical, something beautiful. And it's also really so nice seeing within friends or people who get to learn and discover within themselves new talent or passion which they weren't aware of before. Especially with these DIY films, I mean, you really have to use your imagination to solve problems, and that's actually really what makes it so fun. Kind of like how I began with this video concept of my childhood and making these films with my friends as a kid. It was the same thing. We would put all of our energy into making these fairy tale films, and it was only for us to watch in the end. But that was the best part, was that we were all going on this journey together.